Hello, Captain Bring Down here. If you're new here, this is video 7 in a series of videos pertaining to the mysteries of Grand Theft Auto 5. If you have a base understanding of what the mystery is, I would at least go back to 4, 5, 6. Otherwise, you may not understand the context in which I'm speaking of. Everyone else here is an honorary member of the Ascended Masters, and they're seeking the truth.
I see a web, still tangled after years of unraveling. Will you be the one? I wonder.
I'm part of a very special group of people that understood the symbolic representation that's been thrown in front of our faces all throughout Rockstar. We are here to shed light on the subject. I've said in my previous videos to give you the keys of understanding so you can solve these mysteries for yourself. And I'm not here to dangle a carrot, but everything I show you is from the game itself, and everything I show you can be proven. Now, if you're here for just that truth and don't want to watch the rest of the video, the key is this. At a certain moon cycle and certain stages of the sun, certain parts of the day, the areas in which you think are significant change depending on what moon cycle and the sun position. That's the secret. Everyone else that's here, this is a message for the Ascended Masters and for the honorary Ascended Masters. See, there are 7 of us in total who have chosen to take a vow of silence since 2015, because what we discovered through our esoteric knowledge in the game is, well, we weren't sure whether Rockstar wanted this to be revealed or if this was something special that they had created just for themselves. And even though this is titled The Sun and Moon, I think I have to explain this a little bit further. And once I'm done here, we'll get back into the sun and the moon. So, esoteric, what does that mean? It is very specific knowledge, not common, but to a very small group of people or following. So anybody who has knowledge in these matters, we immediately started to see the Greek significance of the game. We started to see where they were building things around the symbols that we discovered, like Kronos there, Old Father Time. We see Mount Zohan, and we talked about the meaning of Zohan, and we see the Merkaba, Star of David. R&D esoterically comes out to the number 13. So now, again, here's where we start to see the snake, the eagle, the bull, the goat, the maiden, the virgin. Esoterically, all this makes sense. We see the four corners. And then you see the bee. Then you see the checkered floor. Then you see the pillars. Every lantern that seems to be pointing in the right direction is a double torched. And when this side, we're standing on a black plate of ignorance, and in the inside we have light. Oh, underneath the pyramid. So immediately we start to look at this. Anybody who studies esoteric knowledge or symbolism, who are we? What's the group that's being pointed out here? These are the Freemasons. This is why we chose the vow of secrecy, and it wasn't until we came to a lot of conclusion that Rockstar wanted us to see this. So anybody who knows anything about Masonic symbolism noticed it immediately. Now, I'm not here to share secrets about them, but what do we know about them? Our forefathers were Freemasons. Anywhere we look, they were the men in power. Like Leviticus Cornwall with the Templar cross. Well, they were said to have descended from the Templars. And this is where we see the Templar cross all throughout Grand Theft Auto 5. Who were the Templars? They were a legion of knights who said to have had a secret organization or banking system, traveled all the way to Jerusalem. They were the knights in the temple of King Solomon 900 years ago. Google Templar 900. So when you start to see the symbolism, you see it all over the place. But like I said, I'm not here to divulge secrets, only common knowledge. What do we know about Freemasons? We see the Shriners, we know the secret hand signals, we know about the pyramid in the eye, the grand architect. But what do Freemasons want us to know about themselves? They were about the betterment of man. Through understanding how to improve man to a higher being, understanding ancient symbolism and ancient wisdom, they were the teachers of these ideas, astrotheology. And they were always bringing light to people, shining out of darkness. Darkness is ignorance. This is why we were afraid, because I said in my previous video and in this video, once you see all the Masonic symbolism, we know that they get mad and angry when people share the secrets, especially the secrets of Dionysus, and why everything that has to do with the leopard was sacred to Dionysus. Only high level priest or priestesses would wear the leopard skin, and we see this a lot. This is why you see the panthers. This is why we see tigers. That's why we see bobcat. Anything that has to do with the leopard is because it's sacred to the priesthood. Remember, Dionysus was Bacchus to the Romans. This is why we see grapeseed, because sometimes he was shown as a youth. This is why Saint Denis was the Catholic version of Dionysus. Look, you see grapes. He was the fruit of the vine. He was the fruit hanging. He is the grapevine. That's why it's vine wood. And this is why we see the Osiris symbolism and we see the Dionysus symbolism. I explained in my goddess video the connection. Now I want to show you the strongest representation here in this upside down pyramid castle-like structure. Solomon Richard's office. Remember, we said it was King Solomon. Talked about the Templar reference. Sam Austin on Heritage Way, by the way. Sam Austin is a playoff of Sam Houston and Stephen F. Austin from Texas. Both well-renowned Freemasons, if you look into the history there. Remember, Heritage Way. This might have a lot to do with Red Dead Redemption 2 being involved always in Texas. Let's take a look inside, shall we?
Hello. Come in.
We immediately see the Egyptian sarcophagus.
You know, I used to have 3 secretaries. Now I have to
We
make
see
my
the
own
tiger.
coffee and give myself a happy ending.
See the top hat.
The ships are coming in.
Nelson and Naples. If you look this up around the time period it's played out, it's only around the time and during the Napoleonic War, and the king is actually riding on as a tiger.
Orion. 2.
Look at the hand signals being used here.
Kevin Weston said you were a
Shoulder of Orion 2. Pluto, I said it.
Kevin Weston.
We know who Pluto is. We know who
Does he
Mars
want you to
is.
bump me off?
No. not
On
at
the
all.
mantle, we see
He said
Light
you were
Bearer. We
retiring.
see
You might need
Zeus
some help
on the
a movie.
handles.
Only assholes retire.
We see
Mike.
Michael being
Even
depicted
my
with the
son,
horse
they wanna
again,
put
which
me out
again
to
later in
pasture so
another
they can
video
turn this
I'll
place
explain
into
this.
condos or a
We see the
theme
ring in the
park or
middle
something.
finger. We see the
But this place
transformation
is
of
a
man
dream
from wolf
factory.
there.
Well, maybe they have different dreams.
We see the
Some days-
top hat symbol of the free man. We see Dionysus. We
always
see all
say,
the symbols here.
never
This is
work
why
with
we were
children
afraid.
or animals.
We
Well, I
we
won't
know
add to
that they don't
list.
want these secrets
Never
shared.
work with directors or
And so we
actors.
were really afraid that maybe this wasn't supposed to be found out. And like we said, we kept our integrity. But that's enough divulging of sea secrets. We're here because of the sun and the moon, and that's what we're about to talk about now. So to my followers, we told you about the meaning of the words. We told you about the ancient symbolism. We told you about the time and day. What you have become an honorary neophyte, but you're not a Hierophant yet. You're still missing the final key. Look very closely at this plate. This actually reveals more to the mystery than you will ever realize. Now let's teach you about the sun and the moon. So, when you start to follow the sun and moon, and you go to these very specific places, you start to notice that, in fact, things change. The sun and the moon start to be pointing, actually, arrows in a very specific direction. You realize that a lot of these things are based off of the ancient symbolism, like with the cross, the oldest symbol for the sun. Here, nobody understood what it was for, but it coincides with the rising, the sun and moon. And look, there's the rooster, the sun, crosses everywhere. Now, we're all very familiar with the sundial that is the Galileo Observatory. But there are other things all across Grand Theft Auto 5 that can be used as this sundial. That Rockstar makes it very clear. Look at the T's on the ground here. See, but what is the real sundial? What's the not the real sundial? You have to go to these places. One of my favorites is Maze Bank. If you pay very close attention to the sun and moon, you'll see that each point on here coincides with one of the hours of the day. Look as I start my clock at 0. Let's pay attention here and watch as I speed through here to show you. See, the moon is moving around at the edge of the map, and you'll see this play out here. Let's watch. Now, if you notice as well, it stays within the same phase throughout the whole day. And here, the sun is rising. Now, the sun actually goes straight up, so that by high noon is right above us, and it sets. So the moon is moving in a horizontal fashion, and the sun is moving in a vertical fashion. And at very specific times, it's at very specific places. And then we start the sequence to win. And look, you can also see that building, that the mysterious clock is actually coincides with the setting of the sun here and there, if you're familiar with that clock tower. And look, here comes the moon right on cue, right as the setting of the sun. But here's where things get very, very interesting. Because if you go stand at the observatory, the sun's going to move right above you, just like it did here. It moved right above us. Because it turns out, anywhere you're standing, it changes. Look how huge the moon is when I'm back there in the Elysian Fields, Elysian Island. Now watch, it's shrinking. Like, what is going on? Why is it huge when you're in some places, and why is it tiny when you're in other places? See, now it's tiny. So, and look, it looks as if the moon is now closer to us than at the very edge of the map, like where it normally is. And if you go stand over those mountains further away, here's another great example. You see the small moon. The small sun. Now we go to, look, medium sun. It's actually larger than it was when I was up the stairs. Now watch what happens when I go down these stairs. If you look at it from this position in between these pipes, it turns huge. So the sun just literally went through 3 different shapes: small, medium, and large, just in that position right there. That's what I'm talking about, what makes this so hard. But also is very interesting. Because why is the sun big in certain places? Why is it tiny in the other places? What does this have to do with the mystery of Grand Theft Auto 5? And everywhere you look in Grand Theft Auto, it's constantly showing us the symbols of the sun and the moon. Very specific phases of the moon as well. Now, once you look, if you look at the sun through the clouds, you'll see that in fact it's just a dot with inside a spear. That is an interesting thing. So anytime you look at the graffiti of the sun, they always show the dot inside the spear, like the eye, like we see that at the observatory at Galileo Theater. So now that you start to see this weirdness that's going on in Grand Theft Auto 5 with the sun and moon, go back to these significant places. See what happens when you're there, how the sun and moon changes. Follow it, see what happens. Now we're going to talk about a more stable sun and moon in Red Dead Redemption 2 and these arrows. There's 3 sisters. Mountain Peak, we talked about the significance of that. And there's the other Mountain Peak. Now nobody understood what these arrows meant. Now, I understand it's hard because all you see is a dot pointing in that direction, or Window Rock. There's a lot of ground to cover here. It's hard to understand what those 2 arrows mean. But the 2 arrows on this side, there's not a lot of ground to cover. The map ends right there. So, what do we know, in fact, is pointing in this direction? Well, immediately we see the Devil Cave. Okay. That's an orange color. Now, what do we see in this direction? This is the convict's cabin, or even the secret area with the witch. Look, it's gold. Now, we know the witch gives you a treasure map, which involves gold. So maybe that's why the arrow is gold. I'm not saying definitively, but what else could it be? Now, what else do all these little marks mean? See? And that looks like strangers are the red or the orange. Now, if you come here at night, you will also see that not only is it a sundial, but it is a moon dial. Each of the phases of the moon, as it's spinning around in a circle, it actually matches each of those dots, and look, it's actually fading away till it's nothing. And I guess that would be the new moon segment, or the eclipse. Here's another sundial, moon dial that people didn't understand. If you come here at the sunset, or if you stand here from the beginning to end of the moon cycle and the sun cycle, you'll see what is actually going on here. Again, I try to prove this. When the sun sets, you'll notice that it lines up perfectly with the middle pole, the straight line. Here comes the moon. Now, the shadow of the moon begins on this portion to the left. I like to throw this body around to show this. The arrow's showing us that we need to be on this side. Sorry, wrong side. Yeah, that side and this side. So that side with the body's on the sun, this side is with the moon. See? Why the arrow showing this going zigzag through them? Well, the moon actually starts a line on that side and only travels from the left side top to bottom and ends when we hit this peak and the sun rises. And the sun's shadow only is on the right side. Esoterically, we know left is for the moon, we know right is for the sun. This is a sun and it's a moon dial. Like, we look at this statue right here, again we see, what does the plaque say? In Latin, it translates to time is running out, or hurry, the time is upon you. Again, Rockstar is showing you that you have to be at these specific places at a specific time according to the sun and the moon. This is why everywhere you look, we see the obsession with sunsets. What are these? There's only very specific places in the landscape that you see the sun in these positions. You see the moon in these positions. Like, for instance, right there, what two mountain hills are we talking about? Like, why are we supposed to be standing here? What's so significant about these places? Once you start to come here and you realize what's really going on in accordance to the sun and moon, that's when all the answers start to be found. Very specific times they are forcing upon us. We started paying attention to the numbers that we kept seeing. We kept seeing this rule of 4, 8, 12, 16, look, 13, 4, and 8. You get what looks like an Illuminati eye. But I want you to pay attention. If you look at the spear, you see very closely that what I proved to you, the vertical and the horizontal represent the sun and the moon. And look, if we look up at the shadow, yes, it looks like the glyph of the sun, but it also looks like the glyph for Saturn, also representing time. So exactly, time and the position. Where are they? Let's talk about the most important thing. Every midnight, the moon is not where you think it's going to be. It's on a different part of the island. And it's going through these different phases each time. And the most important phase is the eclipse phase. See, we get a sliver there. And if you watch closely, it actually changes from one side to the next. Anytime the moon's going to change phases, it's always going to be in this position here at the 00 hour. And then it goes down on the other side of the phases, back to full moon, back to the eclipse. Now, the reason why I say this is most important is because, see, I run in a different phase. I've noticed that the more I kept following the sun and the moon, you see the moon on my right shoulder over there. Everyone knows where I'm standing if they're my followers. You started to notice that they kept getting closer and closer together. It was almost insanity that it seemed as if I was moving the sun and the moon. Now, I don't say that this is absolutely true. It just appears that way. And I don't know if it's because of the way the moon and the sun are affected by where you stand. So the more I kept going to these very specific places, it seemed as if I was joining them together. Here is a video of the closest I've gotten. I've actually gotten, I think, 3 different phases in total to come to a full eclipse. See, once you realize that Grand Theft Auto 5 is very strange. Look, the sun right above me, and I'm not even anywhere near Maze Bank or anywhere near the observatory. Elysian Iden Voodoo Place. Yes, this place is definitely strange. Hey, look, guys, panther heads. And Voodoo Place disappears randomly. So this is why people were at the right place. They knew they were supposed to be here. They just didn't understand the full significance of the place. They didn't understand it.
This?
And so they would find something, get very excited, but what did it mean? What was the purpose?
Doubt in your mind, you're an antithesis, and the metaverse will not reveal its secret.
Guess we keep looking.
So they'd leave. They'd walk away, keep searching, and they'd feel all discouraged, not realizing that they just weren't there at the right moon
You
phase.
just need to try harder to rid your mind of ignorance, that's all.
See, go back to these places. See what they mean by the path is lit. So yeah, I could have thrown you on this path early on, but you wouldn't have even understand the significance of why you needed to be on the path. That's why every video was done in a very specific order, a very specific way. So that way, hopefully you would understand.
Truth must be revealed gradually until you're capable of understanding it.
So like I said, the next videos, now I no longer have to explain myself. That's every key to the mystery. So follow me, and now I can show you exactly what it took to find everything that we found.
The stars favor those who leave no stone unturned.
Till next time, everyone. Captain Bring Down out,
Farewell.
and keep searching. The truth is out there.